Hi, welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, talent on loan from God. This is Karen in Henderson, Nevada, which is Las Vegas.
Rush.
How are you, Karen?
I'm fine. It's an honor to speak with you.
Thank you.
I was going to mention earlier in the show talking about how Ford's going to come to the Michigan plants.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's so great for America to have that opportunity to have more jobs. But also at the same time, I'm kind of nervous about the electric car thing. Because,
you mean Ford?
We were always Ford Mercury drivers. And when they went with all the electric cars during Obama administration, there was a whole bunch of us that got X'd because there's actually a really large group that's fans of the Mercury Ford, and they don't make them anymore. They just stopped making them. And we still have ours. Ours is 14 years old.
Okay, now wait. I want to make sure I understand. There's the Ford brand, there's a Lincoln brand, there used to be a Mercury brand. Are you talking about the brand, or are you talking about a vehicle called the Ford Mercury?
I'm talking about like the Mercury Cougar, the Mercury Grand Marquis.
Right.
And they don't make those anymore. They stopped making them, and I think part of it was they were influenced by the Obama administration.
Why?
I think they just wanted to get the electric go green stuff going, and they used Ford to get them in there. But they actually X'd a bunch of us when they did that.
By X'd, you mean eliminated you as customers because you didn't want to buy it if it didn't say Mercury on it.
Yeah, because like I said, we've been driving the same car for 14 years.
What did you like about the Mercury as opposed to the Lincoln version of the car or the Ford version of the car?
What is that?
Well, let me use General Motors as an
okay.
example. This is, in fact, going way, way back here to the 70s and 80s. I think this is when General Motors got in trouble. Yes. There was the Chevrolet Camaro and the Pontiac Firebird. And they were the same car.
Yes. Okay.
The exact same car, the same engine. They just had little different grills. The Pontiac had a little different look than the Camaro did. But they were general. The Impala had a Buick version. They didn't call it the Impala; it was the Buick, whatever it was. And every General Motor car, other than the even some of the Cadillacs, looked like the Chevrolets and the Buicks.
Okay.
And they did this because it was much cheaper. If you only have to make one body style for 5 brands, it's much cheaper than designing 5 different body styles and manufacture for different brands and so forth. But the problem with it, I always thought, if you're going to buy, and GM had it tiered. It was Chevrolet, and then Buick, and then Oldsmobile and Cadillac. If you bought an Oldsmobile that looked just like a Chevy, why buy it?
Yes.
And I think you can trace some of General Motors. Well, I thought, doesn't Ford do that? Isn't what it looks like the Ford Falcon? Well, that's old. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Pick your favorite Ford car. Isn't there a Mercury version of it, or were they entirely different cars from the Fords?
Well, we were going to do a Lincoln, but even those are no longer being made. So I know our cars we got to about 230, 225, somewhere around there, 1,000 miles. But my husband said they're known to go out around 200. But he's a good car maintenance guy, so we can fix it.
I'll tell you what this is. This is one of the greatest examples of brand power that I could give you.
Okay.
For some reason, the Mercury brand, you loved it.
Yeah.
You trusted it. You believed in it. And
a full steel frame. And I had somebody hit me once. I'm still here.
Yeah, right. And you think in the Ford car you might have been injured.
Yes. Well, when I was coming home this morning after I dropped my husband at work, a person turned right from the inside lane, and boom, he got hit from an oncoming car. The pieces were flying like an explosion everywhere. Yeah. I'm like, oh, my God. When I buy a car new, I'm buying one huge one.
Car accidents on the EIB network. This is a first. Well, I'm glad you're safe. Does Mercury not make anything that you can buy now that you want to buy?
I have no idea because I just don't know, because the whole car industry, with all the cafe standards.
Okay, so you have a Mercury now and you're holding it. If you can't buy another Mercury, what are you going to buy?
That's what we don't know, because all the car industry is like, so when we go out of town, we have to rent one. And because I don't know what to do because they're all like tin cans now.
Well, that's a different story. But Karen, if I were to tell you that the steel and the body and the suspension in your Mercury is identical to what's in a Ford, would you believe me or think I'm wrong?
It's you, I would believe. I would believe you. Absolutely.
Because my point is you could probably buy a Ford or a Lincoln if it looks enough like the Mercury you liked, and you probably might be getting very close to the same car, even though they might not make it under the Mercury brand anymore. You should look into that. You should
That's what I'll do then.
Go to a Ford or Mercury. Are Mercury sold at Ford dealerships?
I'm not sure.
Right. It's been a long time since you bought one because this one's lasted you so long. Well, I appreciate the call. This is fascinating. She's all excited that Ford is expanding, but she can't buy her favored Mercury. This, folks, I'm not kidding. This is a great illustration of the power of branding. Have you ever wondered why people back in the 70s wore two-tone army green leisure suits and thought they looked good? And yet they did. I saw them all over the place. You look at that, where in the world did you buy it? Why when you got up today, did you want to put that? They thought it looked good. You thought it looked bowling alley. They thought it looked good. So taste there's no accounting for it. It's all personal, but the power of branding, particularly when it comes to automobiles, is overwhelming. You go back to the 70s and 80s with that General Motors situation I was describing. Well, literally, folks, the Camaro and Firebird were identical cars. But you'd have the Firebird buyers, the Pontiac. No way am I buying that Camaro. It's the same car. No, it's not. That is a Chevy, and mine is a Pontiac. Brand power is fascinating, and the Mercury brand appeals to Karen here. So, Karen, we'll tell Trump because he's talking to the Ford people. And if there are enough people here that are interested in the Mercury, Ford's interested in selling them. You never know what's going to happen here. But I predict you're going to be able to find something that's close to what you want, regardless what they do with the brand. I appreciate the call. I really do. We'll be back in just a second.